God, won't he do it? Big wins, no luck.
Hello and welcome to another Psalms Devotional. I'm Jesse and today we're going to dive into Psalms chapter 28. Now Psalms 28 is shaped into two movements, a cry for help and a response of praise after God answers. It is also attributed to King David. But before I dive in, why don't you go ahead and pause this video and read Psalms 28 for yourself. Go ahead. Welcome back. Now I am humbled by King David here. He makes his dependence on God unmistakable, acknowledging that apart from him, he is powerless against his enemies. In the opening verse, no doubt, David cries out with urgency, showing that he has nothing to stand on except God himself. Now, this is striking when you remember David's life. He was a man rebuked by God who faced serious consequences for his sin, including the loss of his son, and yet he is still called a man after God's own heart. Not because he's flawless, but because he consistently returned to God in humility and repentance. In this psalm, we see that same posture. David is not trying to fit God into his plan. Oh no. He is trying to align his life completely with God. David also longs for justice, asking God to repay evildoers according to their deeds. But more than a personal vindication, the psalm reveals human weakness in contrast to divine strength. One of the most striking features of the psalm is how David's cry for help in verse 2 is echoed and answered in verse 6, showing the movement from desperation to assurance. Then the tone shifts. David does not remain in lament. He responds with praise. He recognizes that God has heard and acted. This posture of dependence is something to be celebrated, something we need to teach our children and our children's children, not to be confused with pride, because true humility is not thinking less of God's power, but rightly recognizing our need for it. Pride was the very root of Lucifer's fall, when he turned from dependence on God to self-exaltation. In contrast to a culture that often wants to celebrate pride, David shows the opposite spirit here, humble reliance that leads to worship. The sense of helplessness is something every believer understands. It is comforting to know that while we cannot secure our own rescue, protection, or vindication, God can. For those burdened by leadership or overwhelmed by responsibility, God is able to carry what we cannot. In our weakness, we are called to trust, pray, obey, and remain humble. And when God answers, as he faithfully does, our response must be worship. God bless.
Big wins, no luck, he influenced.